evening, and welcome to the October 17th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. It's going to be a short meeting, as you can hear it. Request to continue under a notice of intent. Geraldine C. Griffin Trust, 32 Eldridge Drive, North Falmouth, for permission to add new riprap to supplement existing riprap seawall that includes installation of filtered fabric, adding new crushed stone and riprap approximately 9 to 14 feet in width. Remove trees and shrubs, install native plantings to supplement the existing vegetation, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant has requested continuance till November 7th.
Motion to move to November 7th.
Second.
Any questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, just a question on how many continuances on this budget? Is this the third?
It's the second. Do we have it here, Jen?
I believe this would be actually the third, but the first one is, I'm actually meeting with the applicant's representative on Friday to
Okay.
discuss, so they're moving forward.
So you have to put that
Okay.
down.
Okay?
Yep.
Just put an arrow and then November 7th. Just put an arrow in November 7th. Okay, Owen Potter. Oh, okay, sorry. I tried to get through this meeting quickly. Are there any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion on the table, which is a continuance to November 7th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, so moved. Owen Potter. Thank you.
You're welcome.
64 Irving Road, East Falmouth, for permission to demolish the existing single-family house and construct a new dwelling with attached garage, deck and porch with stairs, outdoor shower, installed dry wells, utilities, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until November 7th.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is a continuance to November 7th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Okay, vote minutes, 9/12/2012. Well, I've read these. Actually, all three, I mean, we're not doing all three, but all three were substantially correct, except you might just go through, Susan, every once in a while you switch engineers. I mean, it was like Mr. Borselli was presenting, and then all of a sudden Mr. Bunker says something, but Mr. Bunker wasn't at the meeting. Yeah, so just go through. I don't remember if it was that one or one of the others. Could I have a motion?
Motion to move 9/12/2012 as discussed.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. 9/19/2012. I've also,
That is my same motion for September 19th, 2012.
thank you. Could I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so
Yeah,
moved.
one abstention, please, I was not present.
Okay. Yeah, and Ed wasn't also present on the 9/26.
Which I am making a motion to accept as discussed.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And Ed abstained.
Abstain.
Request for determination of applicability. Sandra Josephs, 42 and 44 Drift Road, West Falmouth, for permission to fill vertical voids on top of the stone riprap and chinking the entire face, all work by hand.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance for 1 week until October 24th.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is continuance to October 24th. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Continued request for determination of applicability. Martin and Robin Murphy, 195 Great Bay Street, for permission to upgrade with a new Title V sewage disposal system.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the staff is recommending a -2 under the bylaw and -3 under the state with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, for those of you who might not know, a negative determination means you can go ahead with the work as discussed. All in favor of the motion on the table, which is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination? Or no, could we have a motion?
Motion to have,
Sorry,
I'm sorry, motion to.
I'm really trying to move this along tonight.
For the staff's recommendation of the -2 and -3.
Actually, I think
We're to do that?
We're still on Martin and Robin Murphy.
Yep.
Are there any questions on the board? We have a motion and second. Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none. Motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Estate of Bob Lee Pritchard, care of Jeffrey Pritchard, 174 Grand Avenue, for permission to remove 2 cesspools and install a septic tank with a poured concrete slab and a raised Title V sewage disposal system with a 2-foot retaining wall.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the staff's recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. 145 Fay Road Nominee Trust, care of Charlotte Bell, trustee, 145 Fay Road, for permission to install native mitigation plantings, remove invasive species, and install restoration plantings to satisfy the expired order of conditions, DEP 25-2077.
Yes, Madam Chairman, in this case, we are recommending a +3 under the state and the bylaw, and that is because usually the staff will recommend a negative for projects if they've expired and they need to put in some mitigation plantings, but the extent of these plantings is so large.
Looks like 3,500 square
Square
feet.
feet,
Actually, when you
yeah.
told me about it, I multiplied 60 by 60.
Yeah,
The way the
it's
plants
quite a
will be
large
spaced.
area. We just feel there's a tremendous amount of work that we're uncomfortable recommending a negative.
That would like to be able to condition.
Yep.
Okay?
Move the staff's recommendation of a +3.
Second.
Are there any questions from the board? Are there any questions? Yeah.
One just point of order. My write-up says 147, not 145. Just as you had announced it as 145, it's 147. And this is to satisfy an expired order of conditions, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions from the audience? Mike? You're going to tell us who you are. Thank you.
My name is Michael McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor, and I filed this RDA. There was a recent conveyance, and when we inspected the site, there was lawn in this area. So we proposed an RDA to take the lawn out and put in the plants. At the same time, the plants in here are, there's some dead woody indigenous plants here. There's some vines and weeds in this area. And so what the actual work, while it sounds significant, it's not really that significant. The major portion is to take the lawn out of this area and then replant the plants. So we had hoped to get this started now, because we've already agreed with the staff about a 3-year monitoring plan. And if we have to file a notice, we'll miss this entire season. I want to stress that we came to you to apply to do this. We asked to get started now. Now, one of the things that's happened is, Mark's gone out and he's found things that would be addressed during a certificate of compliance inspection, and a lot of the things have been satisfied. But it just seems that if we come to you in a spirit of cooperation to try and restore something that was, to fix a mistake that someone else did, the current owner didn't do this work, he's bought it. So we were hoping that you would let us start the plants now. And we've already agreed with I've given them a letter to the staff, talk about a 3-year monitor plan. So I believe that the most important thing is there's a certificate of compliance here that has to be issued at some point. And that is the guarantee that you have. And we're also have agreed to the monitoring for 3 years. So there's significant protections for the town, and I don't see why we have to do all this additional paperwork.
Madam Chairman, the order of conditions was issued in '96. Back then, there was a guarantee that the work would be done for a certificate of compliance, and it was never done. Mike, when did your current property owner purchase the property?
A few months ago.
And your client, the seller at that time, was aware?
The buyer was aware that there was an issue, but I basically told him that he had to restore it. He agreed to it. He agreed to restore it. That's why we're here. We're trying to comply with a condition that was imposed in 1996.
And in the 2 amendments where the applicant at that time was supposed to replace the trees that were illegally cut on the coastal bank, and those were never done, even though they were required in 2 different amended orders?
The issue there, and I said it to Mark, I said we were willing to accept the condition that any other activity that's required to bring the site in conformance. There are stumps out there, but there are now shoots that are significant size. So they did cut at least 1 or 2 trees, I'm aware of. But if you want more trees, we'll plant them. We're not trying to dodge anything. I applied to put the plants in.
I'm just going to make a comment. We appreciate the fact that you're coming in, trying to get it in compliance. Personally, I'd be more comfortable, given the size of the area, given that we would condition it, that plants would be put in the lawn, that there would be certain erosion control, certain trees would either allow the stump sprout or would require additional trees. I prefer you come for a notice. It's stable right now. You can start planting, give us a notice in the next month or so, and you can plant first thing in the spring.
Well,
I'm just saying
we've agreed to a 3-year monitor plan, so now we're going to be delayed basically 6 months. And I just...
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have a different take, a different point of view, I guess, on this particular budget. The circumstances as described to us by Mr. McGrath suggest to me that we ought to be encouraging people to come before us voluntarily to clean up some of these old orders and bring things into compliance. I also say that Mr. McGrath does have a good track record in town of living up to his commitments, and he certainly has done that before this board. And what he's been saying here is they're willing to do anything we ask them to do. So I have no concern whatsoever that if we found for a negative finding on this, that he would certainly be able to work out any issues with the staff. And so I'm inclined to go along with a negative determination.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Chairman, through you, Mr. McGrath, would you be willing to change the planting plan?
I
And
believe...
get rid of the sweet fern and the low bush blueberry, the inkberry, which is over 80% of the plants you propose in that area?
The landscape architect isn't here. What he said was that he had prepared a plan in 1996, and those were the plants on the plan in 1996. But what Mark says is he can't find a file copy in his file.
We wouldn't normally allow that, would we, Jen?
Not in this area.
Courtney?
First of all, I think that we've
It's fine. Take
got a
care.
situation here where we have an owner who wants to do the right thing, and so I agree with Ed on this. the concern I have, which is reflected in Jen's comments, is that in the end, there isn't a deeded order of conditions that goes ongoing regardless of whether the property is sold or whatever. It's a matter of, in other words, we can't condition an RDA, not so it's legally binding. And I don't know whether I'm opening a Pandora's box here, and so if I am, you can all jump in on me, and I will defer to you all. But one possible solution is that Mr. McGrath and his representatives come up with a planting plan that's acceptable to staff, but they're within and they can go ahead and do the work so they can get it planted this fall, but within 3 weeks to submit an order, a notice of intent that covers the work, that allows us to condition it properly. What I'm sort of drawing on is sort of the concept of the emergency certification.
This isn't an emergency.
I know it's not an emergency, so that's not the point, but the principle is the same, which is we permit the work if it meets with staff's approval, but then we require within 3 weeks the filing of a notice, and that notice contains all the conditions and the plan and the recorded stuff that we can do, and then you can go ahead and issue a certificate of compliance on the whole thing, and it cleans the deal up. Now, if that's an incorrect approach, that's fine. I'm certainly willing to withdraw that thought, but,
I think it's creative,
I
It
know.
would give teeth to the monitoring plan.
yeah.
That was the one thing I was worried about.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is make sure the interests of the town are properly, and the state, are properly protected here, which happens under an order of conditions. And requires all the things that have to be met. But in the meantime, we have a person who's ready and willing to do the right thing. So this is a way around that problem.
Only if they're willing to apply for an NOI.
Well,
Mike?
I mean, that's their choice. If they're not willing to apply for an NOI, then as far as I'm
Yes.
concerned, we vote a positive 3 as staff recommended and move on to the next thing.
Are you listening?
Yes.
What the conditions would be?
What I was doing was reading the original order, and
Did you hear Courtney's creative
Courtney said
solution?
that if we file a new notice, he would allow the work to go forward, and in a time period, he said 3 weeks, I'd prefer 30 days because of our workload. We'd file a notice that would describe the monitor plan.
Yeah, we
And
can-
And the plantings, Mike, because staff does have concern with your planting plan.
I understand.
Planning,
the first-
you
the
would
first
have to-
step in
Staff
the-
would have to agree. If there's any problem with staff, then,
We have to adjust the planting.
right.
But but it's clear that this solution hinges on your filing a notice of intent properly and soon.
30 days would be sufficient time.
Fair enough.
30 days. is-
I'm agreeable
that's
with
fine.
30 days.
is fine. Okay, so the motion on the table is for a positive determination, which would mean he couldn't do it. So if you vote yes, that means he can't do it. If we vote no, it means that Mike's clients can go ahead and plant this according to a discussion with staff, and then within 30 days, Mike will file a notice of intent. Okay? So there's a motion
I'm
in this.
a little confused. What's?
Okay, the motion on the table is for a positive determination. If you vote yes, it means you can't do the work. If you vote no, it's what you suggested, and Courtney's also suggesting, but Courtney's adding that they have to come in with an NOI.
So we're gonna be,
You want to vote
I
no?
wanna vote no.
You want to vote no?
Boy, am I glad
We
we
all
made
want to
that-
vote no.
Am I glad that we took the extra time to make this simple?
Are there any questions from the audience before we take this vote? Okay, the motion on the table is for a positive determination, which would mean they couldn't plant until the spring. If you vote yes, they can't plant till the spring. If you vote no, they can plant, and then Mike's going to come back with a notice of intent. Okay,
Within
all in
30
favor of the
days.
motion on the table, which is a positive determination, say aye. All opposed,
Aye.
say nay.
Nay.
Thank you, Mike. I think you just made under the 15 minutes.
Thanks, Mike.
Request,
Thanks, Mike.
yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
Mike, we knew, Ed already vouched for your word. We knew that you would do that. Very, very infrequently, Mike. Request for a hearing under a notice of intent. I see someone in the back row there. We're ready. Sea Scout Partners LLC, 350 Quaker Road, North Falmouth, for permission to renovate part of an existing structure to convert office space into a 3-bedroom cottage that includes removal of front and rear decks, steps, ramps, play structure. Whoever's talking in back, please stop talking. Play structure, fence, and some sidewalk, and to construct a ramp, walkway, front and rear deck, install dry wells, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll save any of my comments until after Mr. Bunker's presentation.
Look like you just got in your time. Just for the meeting. Good.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We prepared this plan before you, and with us here tonight is John Daly and Crystal Blank of Sea Scout Partners, and Bart Lipinski with Hawk Design, who prepared the planting plan you have. We have is the property at We've reviewed this property at least twice before.
Oh, wait a second. All hearings under a notice of intent are held simultaneously under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. I'm sorry, please go on.
Just turned my haircut gray. In previous times, we've been before you for various sites on the property. This time, there's a structure that's right on the, as you enter, on the right-hand side around the corner. It was used during some of this construction as an office space for the construction management, and this time they want to remodel it into a little small cottage suite of 3 bedrooms. It's on the sewer plant there, so there's no septic system or anything to enlarge or install. The site is in the flood zone A12. It's elevation 14. The building floor is just above that, 14.2. We're in the A buffer zone to the salt marsh, which is 100 feet, and also partly in the A to the coastal bank. And there's also an A zone to the BVW, which goes through the backyard of this project. The B zone for the coastal bank, 100 feet from the coastal bank, goes all the way out to the sidewalk. So the entire structure is within at least A and B. The proposal before you on the bottom right, bottom left rather, you see is the existing conditions and demolition plan. The shaded areas are impervious surface that will be removed. There's some deck and some sidewalk, concrete ramp, and all. That ramp currently goes into the other half of the building, which is a laundry room, laundry facility. That will be removed, a small step and a play structure in the, we call the backyard to it. And in the place will be, this will be a new ramp and entrance going up to the south side of the building, and a small front deck facing the parking lot, and a rear deck facing out to the back over the where the play area is now. There will be on the front a new ramp added to the laundry facility. That will come in from the other side, and where the laundry ramp is now is going to be vegetated remain unpaved and vegetated in there. This is to separate the noise of the laundry carts, keep it away from the cottage. The front deck there and a little bit of landscaping across the front. The total coverage, we have the coverage calculations here. The 70 square feet of additional coverage. And for this, you can look at there's a colored plan that was attached to each of the large pages for the key to sort of what's being removed and what's being added. When it all boils down, there's 70 square feet of new impervious in the B zone, which requires a 2-to-1 mitigation, and it would be 140 square feet, and there's 312 square feet of new impervious, which is mainly the deck, in A zone, which required triple mitigation. And that requires 1,076 square feet of mitigation planting. In the backyard there, you can see on Mark's design is a nice colored planting plan. There'll be a lawn, Falmouth-friendly type lawn, and these planting beds on my plan and on the colored insert on the Hawk design plan. We've totaled up only those planting beds that are more than 10 feet from the structure. We have 1,088 square feet of native planting. This is using the same palette that's been approved, both with the landscaping at the entrance, which you can see some of that landscaping on the bottom of the drawing here. That was approved a couple of years ago. And it's also the same palette that was used recently at the beginning of this year over where a park was rebuilt in the right rear corner by the tennis court. There'll be, right now, there's not much drainage structure on there, some downspouts and pipes that go off into the woods or something. This will have gutters, downspouts, and going into high-capacity infiltrators as shown in the backyard just behind the deck. Drainage calculations, because this is not a residential site, drainage calculations were provided. And that's the project. If you have any specific questions about the planting, Mr. Lipinski can take that. I'll answer questions about whatever else.
Thank you. Jen?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Yes, Madam Chair. I was out at the site today, spent some time walking around looking for issues, but I couldn't find any. Other than that I guess it's the south end, some of the access might be kind of tight. Just want to make sure that there's a couple of cedars there and one oak, I guess it was, where it would be a little bit of a tight fit. I just like to suggest there be some way
Yeah, I
of
can mention
protecting
that,
those.
I don't have the specifics, but there were some plants, I think it might be shown on the planting plan, some plants that would be transplanted and moved out of the way for this work, and then others put back in there, perhaps. If you-
Okay, well, that's the kind of thing I'm
Yeah.
looking for. Other than I
Most
don't-
of the access will come in from around behind the laundry room from the north side into
Right.
the area.
But this would clearly be an improvement to the area that, back of the structure there, in resource areas, a bit of a mess right now. What they're trying to do is clean the thing up. It's a continuation of a major improvement project that's been underway for some time, and so far, I think all of us have agreed that it's turning out pretty well.
Okay. Tommy? Mike?
Ed said it all, I'm happy.
All right.
I am glad to see this back again, and it is nice to see the continuation of momentum carrying on, and the attention that you've given to our requests in the past have been reflected in the planting plan here. No questions.
No questions.
No questions.
And what question do I have for you? None. Should we close it?
I move to close the hearing, take it under advisement.
Second.
Well, maybe you should, maybe look for
I will.
questions from the audience.
First, I'm going to ask if the board has any more questions. And then questions from the audience. Are there any questions from the audience?
This is a favor to the chair, because her voice is a little sore. Anybody who does come up this evening, please identify yourself at the podium, and that's where you conduct your talking, okay?
Okay, motion on the table is to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Bayberry Road Real Estate, care of William Post, 36 Bayberry Road, East Falmouth, for permission to remove landscape material from approximately 2,200 square feet and restore the area with high marsh border plant community to control invasive plants and relocate the existing planting beds and associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'll save any of my comments until after Mr. Ball's presentation.
Good evening.
Sir?
Yes, Mike Ball from Wilkinson Ecological Design. I'm here representing the Bayberry Road Real Estate Trust, who's your applicant for this notice of intent. As you mentioned, the property is at 36 Bayberry Road, which is on the eastern shoreline of Bourne's Pond in Falmouth. As you explained, it's a reclamation project, really, of a coastal resource area and a buffer to that resource area. The graph has put a nice plan together and pulled it up nicely. I don't know what you've got in front of you. You've got a smaller version of this or not. I'm not sure if you've got photos, but I do have some photos if you want to take a look at existing conditions. But basically what we've got is a house that had some improvements done on it under a previous notice of intent. That project was approved, and my understanding is, as part of that approval, the applicant was to come back and remove some hardscape and some gardens that were adjacent to the resource area, actually in the resource area, and restore that area. And so what we presented, Wilkinson Ecological has put together a design for this area down here where these garden beds would be removed. There was a patio that was actually removed recently, and there's an area of Phragmites that's going to be controlled as part of the project. Some of these garden beds are going to be reconstructed further closer to the house up in this area here. Existing lawn is going to remain to the point, but what we're basically doing is bringing back a 25-foot wide buffer zone of kind of a high marsh shrub and herbaceous community to add some buffer to the margin of the pond. We do have this hardened coastal bank. It's a revetment that's existing, flooded by some salt marsh. What's that? Phragmites in it. Those are pretty much the elements. I'll just go over some of the numbers. The area that's being reclaimed is 2,200 square feet. The area that contains the invasive Phragmites and is going to be managed is 930 square feet. I'm sorry, that's 815 square feet. That's pretty much a good summary of what's proposed.
Okay, thanks. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, you received this notice of intent a couple of weeks ago, so some of you can't find it, that's why. You should have received Wilkinson's revised plan. I was on site with members of Wilkinson's team a couple of weeks ago to review the project. They've made the changes the staff has requested, so we're happy you did review the remodeling of the house under a previous filing, and you may have remembered that the planting beds were there and it's a condition that they be removed. So Homes and Grass has been working on that, and it's a nice plan. We're happy to see it move forward and kind of allow that salt marsh to come back with some help.
Good. Okay, who has this one?
I have this one.
All right.
I think this is going to be a great improvement, and I don't have any questions.
Board?
No questions.
Good luck with the Phragmites.
Tommy? Ed? Mike?
There is a piece of concrete that appears to be a former flagpole on the south end of the site. It's not listed. I assume it's coming out. And other than that, I'm very happy.
Okay, is it the existing, is it a
No,
circular
No,
area?
down here. The concrete pad that was around the former deck area,
Where the bluestone was removed.
where the
on
bluestone
south
was
side.
released, there was it appears to be a flagpole kind of stance that's sitting there.
If it's the area that's shown, let me see, this one is-
It's this one down here, not that.
Not there,
That.
not there.
Oh,
South.
that, yeah, that's absolutely removed.
If that's going, it's just not referenced, as long as it's going, I'm happy.
Okay, Jen, can you just put that in the,
Yeah.
in the findings and then in the condition?
Yep.
And I have no questions for you.
I move that we close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none. Motion on the table is to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you. Could you do me a favor? Sounds like there are people outside. Could you ask them to go around the corner so we can't hear them? Thank you. Continued request for hearings under a notice of intent. Geraldine B. Griffith Trust is continued
November 7th.
until November 7th. Thank you. Robert and Rosemary Murphy, 23 Green Pond Road, East Falmouth, for permission to demolish the existing house and construct a 4-bedroom house with attached garage, deck, patio below, porch, install a concrete slab for AC units, new driveway, French drains, dry wells, native mitigation plantings, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I need to recuse myself.
Okay. You got that, Susan? Susan? Is everybody?
Form is Tommy, Betsy, Tom, Mike, and Michelle.
Right.
Table that, Tom's out talking to these guys, so.
Okay. Could I have a motion to
Motion to
table?
table.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, unanimous, so moved. Owen Potter, 65 Irving Road, is also continued to the 7th of November. Sally Mavor, is Mike here? Mike, you're here. 25 Bar Neck Road, Woods Hole, for permission to demolish and reconstruct an existing single-family house and deck, connect the town sewer, install utilities, restoration plantings, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Actually,
Oh, this is,
No.
he's on deck.
He's too late.
all right, Courtney, then we need to put you back. Tom, you've been tabled for a moment. Courtney, you're back. Quorum for this project is Tommy, Michelle, Betsy, Tom, and Mike. Actually, Courtney, you're not on this one, so sorry. You can go back outside. And Madam Chairman, this is a continued hearing. The applicant filed a notice of intent to rehab the cottage in the back near the isolated wetlands. That is a bylaw only jurisdictional wetland. The board did ask for some modifications to the plan, including extra mitigation plantings and plantings within the small wetland, and some more information on the water service line that was going on the, there's your arrow, on
It's going through the-
the east side of the.
It's going through the blackberry bushes.
Mr. McGrath, so we revised the plan and here to submit it to you.
Mike?
My name is Mike McGrath. We also continued the hearing because there was no file number. The original plan showed a water line running down parallel with the lot line and was going to disrupt the existing plants along the side. There's a 10-foot minimum distance between water service pipes and sewer pipes. So we've brought the water in a different location. When it crosses, it's encased in concrete as per the code. The other thing we added was there was no work limit on the plan, or there wasn't a complete work limit, so we've added a work limit all the way around the construction. There was disagreement about, well, we had named some plants, and the bottom line is we've changed the note that says that the Conservation Commission staff has to approve the species. So I believe that I've answered the 4 issues that were brought up at the night of the original hearing. I stand ready to answer any questions.
My only concern, Mike, is that my request was that wherever there's hydric soils, there be plants, and I don't really see it reflected here, which is okay, we can condition it. But you show where the hydric soils are.
Yes, there's 2 lines shown on the plan. One is the vegetated line, and there are some hydric soils that are not colored on this plan, so they would not be shown. But you can
But there's
easily-
hydric soil behind the house
Yes,
that should be planted.
yes. I understand. You
Yeah.
can condition that.
Yeah. I just don't want you to be surprised when you see that.
I'm never surprised.
I don't believe that.
We can work on it, Mike.
Well, you surprised me earlier, so maybe.
Okay, well, you've answered all the questions that I had. Anybody else? Any questions? Tommy, would you like to make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement?
make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay. Motion on the table is to close the hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Motion on the table?
Second.
All in favor for the motion to on-table?
Madam Chair,
You're out.
off
And
again.
Courtney's gone again? Could I, we have a motion and a second. Did I take the vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't think I took the vote.
no, we didn't.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Tom, we're going to let you come up again. Robert and Rosemary Murphy, 23 Green Pond Road, East Falmouth, for permission to demolish the existing house and construct a 4-bedroom house with attached garage, deck, patio below, porch, install a concrete slab for AC units, new driveway, trench drains, dry wells, mitigation planning, native mitigation planning, and associated clearing, excavating, training, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, Tom is back before you tonight. This property is in the riverfront area, and there were some modifications that were made to the plan to reflect the riverfront regulations, and also for Tom to go through an alternatives analysis. He has done that.
Okay.
The plan reflects the changes in accordance with the riverfront to comply with the conditions of that state regulation, and I don't have any more comments.
Okay. Tom?
Copies of the analysis.
And, excuse me, Madam Chairman, there were
Thank you.
plans that were dropped off. They should have been placed in front of you tonight. I think Lisa did that, and that's because I allowed them to be submitted. There was just a slight modification to the mitigation to reflect, I guess. Tom will explain it.
This is hot off the press then.
Thank you, yes. One thing that was asked for last time was an existing conditions plan, so you can see what was there, what wasn't there. And as part of the riverfront calculations, I have to thank Jen for bearing with me while going through all of this. Existing conditions plan here, you see there's an area that's hatched, which is the house, paved areas, whatever the definition of degraded is under the riverfront, which is areas devoid of loam, soil, whatever. So basically, it's a driveway, some walks, the 2 structures, 4,446 square feet of degraded area. That's sort of the baseline conditions that we have going into this project. Have these calculations here, have go through them briefly. And I'll start by saying that the final plan we have here, we had made the house smaller. The connector between the house and the garage, we made 5 feet smaller, sort of by moving the house itself 5 feet diagonally, and the connector shrank. So it had the effect of moving it further from the river front, which was, it's moved 5 feet. Before I had the same corner here, 60 feet and 60 feet, but now it's moved back 5 feet. Gaining more limit of work around the top of the bank, moved back 5 feet. The garage moved back, I think, just sort of 1 foot back up here. The alternatives, I started with diagram A is the plan that we filed originally. And as part of this alternative, you see the red is where new impervious surface, green is where impervious surface is being removed, and then the green hatched area is the amount of mitigation required. See how we had it proposed, there's originally proposed 3,700 square feet of mitigation required. And the first thing we tried was keeping the same house and move it back 5 feet. Which does give more setback from the coastal bank and all, but the amount of mitigation drops by 800 feet when doing that. I figure that's, take the position that the house being somewhere around in there is not an adverse effect by itself, but that the mitigation is a positive effect. So in reducing the required mitigation by 800 square feet, just say there's less positive effect. With the diagram C, which is this one here, we made the house smaller and basically moved it back at the same time, ended up with 3,200 and some square feet of mitigation required. And then moving that house back just 1 foot more, it reduces the mitigation required by 140 square feet. So I figure that 1 foot moving back will have no particular difference to the riverfront, but the 180 square feet will start to make a difference. As you move it further back, there's less mitigation required. So I figure basically for the benefit of the riverfront, the more mitigation, the better. The last plan that I brought in when I talked with Jen most recently was on this proposed house, we have some dry wells, but basically we have a roof overhang and the stone strips along to catch the water and infiltrate all around the house, or at least on the sides of the house, at the not at the gable ends, but the other ends, other sides of the house. So we have the drip strips there, and I talked with Jen and sort of concluded that those drip strips would be considered degraded area because there's not loam there. So the last plan that you have there was there's 90 linear feet of drip strip around the house, 2 feet wide, 180 square feet, 2-to-1 mitigation in the riverfront area for any other degraded area. So that was adding 360 required. I added 364 more square feet of mitigation. So now on this final plan, basically the whole bank is mitigated. The house is sort of moved back 5 feet, and the whole bank is mitigated. Some trees will come out up here, but new native trees will be planted in the mitigation area also. Septic system is already for this size number of bedrooms. So everything else, I think, is all set. I'll take any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen?
No questions.
This should have come in December. You wait and see what you have for Halloween.
I did. I verbalized it a little. I didn't put it all on the paper like this. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. No, it looks,
That's great.
it's a good analysis. Ed, you weren't on this, were you? Tommy, any questions?
No.
Mike?
I'm reaffirming that the path to nowhere does not lead to a dock that will not be built.
It does not lead, there's no structure like that being permitted or requested at this time.
Fine. Looks that way, that's all.
And there was a question last night, we had a line on here that we had traced from an earlier plan, and Maury, who's not here, asked, why is this path going down to an area where the salt marsh is so wide? It turns out that line that we traced from another plan was a historic mean high water line or something. There's no salt marsh there. I mean, there's a very narrow fringe of salt marsh. And so
Correct.
it's,
Somebody might put in a kayak here, though.
That's fine. It's not my purview. I'm just being sure that there's something coming to me before I didn't understand.
there's no pier or dock structure there being requested.
Okay.
What a difference a foot makes.
Michelle?
No questions.
I'd like to make a motion, to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Any further questions? All in favor of closing this hearing and taking it under advisement, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Snyder, trustee, 33 and 37 Penzance Road, for permission to repair a 40-foot-long licensed stone groin and steps and 270-foot licensed stone riprap in Buzzards Bay, all associated construction, access, and restoration, associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, we continue this for a DEP number only,
Which we now have.
which we now have. 32, 37.
Make a motion to close and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any other questions? You want to know who's on this? Michelle?
No,
Courtney.
we just needed to find it on the agenda.
Tom.
Susan's.
Me? You? Not in? Okay, motion on the table is to close the hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you, Mike.
Thank
Or did you want to say something?
No, I get paid whether I say something.
Okay.
On television.
John and Maria Maxwell, 13 Ocean Avenue, East Falmouth, for permission to renovate existing house and construct a garage, covered entry, second floor deck, remove and reconfigure the patio, replace the outdoor shower, expand the driveway, install dry wells, utilities, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Madam Chairman, DEP number only, which we have received.
Make a motion to close and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions to the audience? Do you have to speak?
I don't get paid either way, so.
Okay.
You haven't made a mistake.
The motion on the table is to close the hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
FW Web Company, 171 Worcester Court, Falmouth, Mass., for permission to demolish the existing building and garage and to construct a new two-story GFA wholesale warehouse facility, installing a new loading dock, paved parking areas, sidewalks, landscape beds and lawns, stormwater infiltration system, Title V septic system, and underground utilities, and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
DEP number only, Madam Chairman.
Make a motion to close and take it under advisement.
Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Okay, request to amend the existing order of conditions. Paul and Barbara Nazaro, 62 Eel River Road, East Falmouth. Request to amend the existing order of conditions DEP 253848, to reduce the amount of fill from 900 cubic yards to 350 cubic yards, to install a septic pump due to the grade change, to remove unpermitted portions of the dock, and proposed dog enclosure and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, the board saw this project a few weeks ago. The applicant had modified the design to address the commission's concern with the original fill project. They had reduced that, and then I believe when going before the zoning board of appeals, that board is requiring the fill to be reduced even more, so the applicant is back to address that.
Okay.
And make the plans consistent with one another. Also, there was a special condition in your order regarding the unpermitted structures on that docket that have been incorporated into this as well.
Good.
As well as the design to set the system to address the grade changes that were done on the project.
Okay. Mike?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the commission. Michael Borselli for the record. I think Jennifer summed it up. I think Jen summed it up pretty well. We did make the revisions to the plan. The original order limited us to 900 cubic yards. We reduced it to 350. So we thought maybe we didn't need an amendment. Well, we talked to Jen, and it made most sense to just make an amendment because there were some other minor changes. And this plan now has all of the changes, and then it addressed some of those requirements that were conditions under the original
Right, so
order.
that
So
this will
it kind
be
of cleans
everything
it
that's
up.
supposed to be done.
Yes, we were able to adjust the grades on the driveway to address some concerns by an abutter and the zoning board of appeals.
Okay?
The balance of the project is the same. The planting plan is the same, the tree mitigation is the same.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Any questions?
No
question. The neighbor issue was resolved?
It appears that it is.
That's, I'm happy to hear that.
Okay, are there any questions? Let's put a motion on the table to close this thing, and then I'll open it up.
Motion to close and take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, motion on the table is to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thanks, Mike. Okay, we're going to take a continued enforcement issue because it's the same. We have two projects under the same. JEV Realty LLC, care of Joy Volke, 375 Sherwood Drive, East Falmouth, for clearing and altering wetland resource area and in buffer to resource areas as defined in FWR 10.00 and 310 CMR 10.00. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, some of you might remember this project. It's 375 Sherwood Drive. They had come in for a redesign. There was an existing pool, and the board issued an order of conditions to allow the reconstruction of the house, but then we did not allow the pool shed or the garage to be sited because it was in the velocity zone. That's just to give you kind of a trigger to remember
this
which project this was. We're here tonight because the staff was made aware of some cutting that was done on the property. There were a couple of issues. The order of conditions had not been recorded. That has since been remedied and the order of conditions was recorded. But the cutting on the property was much more than the board had allowed. It was basically mowing right down to the salt marsh. So the staff had scheduled an enforcement hearing. During that time, we were contacted by the applicant's representative, and through working with staff, they have filed an amendment to address all of the issues out there. The enforcement issue is pending. Some of the work that was done would not have been allowed under a notice of intent or an amendment. This includes alteration of a portion of the salt marsh, which is proposing to be revegetated with appropriate salt marsh species. One area of salt marsh, the staff feels that if you just leave that alone, it'll regenerate quite nicely. And the 4-foot wide path was made larger than this board would have approved, so they're proposing to replant that. Again, those activities would not have been allowed under a notice of intent or an amendment, so we felt an enforcement action was the appropriate course. As far as the invasive species management and the vista pruning, or the mowing that was done, and the pruning that was done in the area that was most concerned, that, can be addressed under an amendment with certain conditions. Some of the saplings that were cut, we'd like to see come back, be left alone and allowed to regenerate. That said, the applicant has filed an amendment that appeared on your agenda this week to address all the issues. So right now, the board has the option to just, break the project out, require some of it, as I just detailed, under an enforcement order, and allow some of it to be under amendment, or to allow all of it to be placed under the amendment. It's not a large area of salt marsh, but it is a salt marsh, and it was alteration of that resource area.
Okay, so let me
The board
get,
has options to go forward.
let me get this clear. It wouldn't have, what they did wouldn't have been permitted under an amendment, but it's going to be corrected under, would not have been permitted initially, but it's done. And
It is done.
they've come in with,
A corrective action.
corrective
under
action.
the amendment. The board's decision tonight is either to allow all of the corrections under the amendment as they're proposed, or, as I said, break it up into an enforcement issue and an amendment issue. This enforcement
personally,
order
I don't see an
appeared on
advantage
your
to do that.
agenda prior to us having discussions with the applicant
Right.
regarding the amendment.
right. Yeah, just personally, I don't see an advantage to having the two. It seems cleaner, but Courtney?
Would it be prudent to have a time certain that this work under this amendment be done?
Which we could do, can we not?
Courtney, right now you're focusing on the enforcement issue. The amendment will come up right afterwards.
No, but he just wants to know.
Yes, I
When we
think
do
it's
have an
on.
amendment, we could do a time certain.
They do want to start the planting, and they do want to
Right.
get the work done quickly.
Right. Yeah, that would be my suggestion.
So
So to move forward-
procedurally, what do you recommend we
Put
do?
put a positive motion that we're going to vote an enforcement order. I'll still come and see if anybody has questions. Put a positive order that we're going to vote an enforcement order, but if you think it can be handled under the amendment, don't vote for it. Any other-
Could I address this?
Absolutely, Madam Chairman, I think it would be,
Sure.
I think it would be advantageous to the board to hear.
Yeah.
Mr. Tavares speak.
Good evening. Wayne Tavares, for the record. I'm a registered landscape architect and a professional wetland scientist. I permitted this job, I was before you 2.5 years ago. And by the way, one of the abutters is here, Mrs. Corneal, and she's most interested in seeing what was permitted 3 years ago. If you happen to have a copy of a plan
Madam Chairman, it should be right in front of you.
of the house, I'm sorry, of the structure that was permitted 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
it's in the file, and the files are open to the public.
We understand that.
Right.
And Mrs. Corneal's here today.
Well, she can come afterwards.
Okay, very good. So what happened is that the order of conditions never got recorded. Guess what? I have the green cards tonight. I also have the recorded instrument here tonight. I also have the contractor's sheets. This supervisor will be me for this project. We did this through a short time span of about 2 weeks. I met with Mark in the office. He brought up exactly what Jen just talked about,
with this project, the problems with it. We had an on-site discussion with those problems. We came up with some solutions on-site, and Mark asked for me to go back and do corrective surgery. So I went back and redid a plan. I'd like, if you all have a second plan, it should be a colored, everybody should have a colored plan. That's the one.
Just the amendment, if you're looking at your amended plan.
And what I'm hoping, just to cut to the quick, well, not really cut to the quick, but to say to you that the amendment and the enforcement is superfluous. You have very motivated buyers, sellers in this particular case. They're thinking about putting this on the market. They have 3 years to institute this tear down and rebuild. That runs out in February of 2013, and they're going to put in for extending that. However, they're motivated to sell this. So rather than doing an enforcement order, if you can trust this paperwork, myself as supervisor, etc., we would like to do all of this work. None of this is structural, it's all landscaping. They had thought that they had heard that they had a vista pruning. Well, if you don't record the instrument, you don't, you have nothing. So they only recorded it 2 years later. So here's the recorded instrument. I'll give this all to Jen. So we're hoping that you vote negative on the enforcement, and we can promulgate this whole thing through the amendment. And that's what we're doing. If you want me to go through all the things that I've discussed with Mark, right now we're just talking about protocol.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have to.
Okay.
Wayne, I do want you to just discuss with the board, if you're looking at the purple, can you just discuss a little bit more in depth, the area number 4, what the staff feels could be done under the amendment? And that was basically a big part of the violation, is it had been mowed down, but this will grow back up and.
Okay. There were some photographs that Mark showed, and I have to say that my client doesn't take the responsibility on that, because the time frame spans a couple of owners in that particular situation. But we're here to rectify that. I just want to put that on the record. For the invasive, what I call, the first sentence of number 4 is so poor. I'm surprised at myself. It says that the invasive vegetated area containing nuisance vegetation. Well, it has nuisance vegetation, it has Phragmites, it has bush honeysuckle, it has bittersweet, so it has some invasives. However, when I spoke with Mark about it, we recognize that every species that you see there under existing shrub layer is coming back: sassafras, elderberry, and sumac. And that's the overstory type of plant. The rest is a lot of weeds that happen and invasives that happen when things have been mowed. We are willing to take the hit on that issue, and it's up to the board to condition it. It is an amendment, so you can condition this. And we're hoping the enforcement order can be tabled in favor of amendment. I think what I heard from Jen is that item number 1, just to take it off the table, is somewhat okay. Item number 2 is somewhat okay. Maybe we overdid it by adding the 33 high tide bush, but we're willing to do that. And then area number 3, we recognize was coming back. There's plenty of Iva frutescens, or the high tide bush, in that area. Area number 4, to get back to it, is an area that's in the vista pruning. It's currently 3.5 feet tall. We have Mark has been adamant, very adamant, about monitoring and vegetative replacement. Maintenance is what I call it. And then a second issue on vista management, which goes beyond the FWR rules and regulations. So we're trying to put in place a 3-year monitoring plan that this vegetation survives, that nobody else prunes it, that we allow the sassafras, elderberry, and sumac to come back in this area. It'll shade out eventually things like pokeweed and very herbaceous pain-in-the-neck weeds, and allow us to have a cut drip or cut and swab methodology of keeping the Phragmites out, and a good basis that even if these people sell, the second owner will have that responsibility transferred onto them. So we're hoping that you people listen and see on this plan. I'm sorry I don't have it up front. It's so small. I'm trying to, if all of you have it in front of you. Very copious. The only thing we haven't done, and I'm leaving the board to do that, is to come up with dates. You want to have this done by March 1st every year, or June 1st every year, a monitoring plan, a report.
We could do that under a...
Yes, and that's what I'm hoping you do.
So my understanding here is you're gonna encourage the sassafras and what are some of the others, blueberry, elderberry, sassafras, and sumac, to keep on coming up and basically suppress the invasives in that area.
Yes, exactly
To make it
right.
a more natural.
Exactly right. And two things, too, sort of extra things here that have happened, is the house as it exists now, if it wasn't torn down, has such a high deck that you see over all of this anyhow. The view is unbelievable. I have pictures if you're willing to look at them. The house proposed is even higher than that in order to get first floor up to high tide range. Therefore, that area is almost guaranteed to stay within a 5-foot at least area for vista pruning afterwards. It's going to be so high in the air. So I have pictures of 2009 and 2012 right here, side by side.
Wayne, can you submit those for the record, please?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Can you submit those for the record,
Oh,
please?
sure,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
I'll give one to...
So, Madam Chairman, procedurally...
I know where we're going.
So I hope I've made an effort to hold this just to an amendment and save the embarrassment of an enforcement. The project will be begun within 10 days, according to your rules. We'll submit a...
10 days after we issue your order.
After you issue the order,
And
we'll
please get it
submit it.
recorded this time.
The plants are available, and the season is here before the snow
Okay,
flies.
let me tell you where we are. Someone is,
I'm going to make a motion
you're going to
for
make a positive motion
positive
to
motion
issue an enforcement order,
to issue
Second.
an enforcement order.
okay? Are you with me, everybody?
Yes.
So if you say yes, we're going to have an enforcement order. If you say no, it means we're going to allow all this work under
Well,
the
we'll move
amendment
to-
that's
That'll
going
be
to
a
come.
separate motion.
Right, I know. I just want people to understand what they're voting.
Yep.
Okay, so motion on the table is to issue an enforcement order. Courtney,
No,
you seconded it.
second it.
Motion on the table is to issue an enforcement order. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Thank you.
I make a motion.
So we're not issuing an enforcement order. Now I have to open up the next one. Okay, I'm just going to open this up, and then we've heard it, so then we can take a vote. JEB Realty Trust LLC, care of Joy Volke, 375 Sherwood Drive, East Falmouth, for permission to restore a wetland resource area by installation of mitigation plantings above-ground irrigation, to submit monitoring and management reports to Prune Vista Corridor area, and to come into compliance with DEP 253647. And we've just heard what that's going to be.
I have one question, Madam Chair.
Yep.
In my motion, I don't know if it's feasible, there's a concern about the length of the order of conditions. We have in our purview 3 and 5 year notices.
It's
I'm
under
sorry, I'm
deliberation.
just going to cut you off. The state legislature voted the Permanent Extension Act, so these permits are a lot longer than...
Okay,
They already have
enough said. Make a motion to accept the amended
amendment.
Second.
amendment.
Okay, any other questions? Any
Yeah,
questions from the
Madam Chair,
audience?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
do we have a date certain when this work will be accomplished?
we will discuss
We will
that in
condition
deliberation
that
next week.
Under the amendment, and we'll try to get the
Okay.
amendments next week, so he can start work as soon as possible. That work for you?
Right. So
That
we'll-
works for me. I'm
we'll vote
sounding like
next
Mr.
week.
McGrath right
All
at
right.
the moment. I'd like to get these plants in the ground.
Okay,
Yes,
we'll vote next week.
absolutely.
Great. I mean,
Okay, motion on the table is to close this hearing. This is an amendment hearing.
Amendment.
And take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
The abutter to show to the-
Yeah.
For the abutter,
The abutter can come take a look at the plan now.
Okay.
Do we have any other business?
You wanna go up and look at the plan?
Come up here.
They have the plan for you.
Jen, do we have
Motion
any
to
other
adjourn.
business?
We have a motion to adjourn. I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.